you were telling during your speech in the forum about the skills needed to be developed in the public relations market. So how do you think universities or courses or the market have ways to develop this kind of knowledge in future PR professionals?
Okay, so what worries me about public relations education around the world, and this is very much a global perspective, I don't know very much about how PR is being taught in Brazil right now, is that it is being taught in a way that is very limited, and that doesn't give PR students exposure to enough of the rest of the world. And there are 3 or 4 things that I think are very important. The first is that PR is very often taught in journalism schools rather than in business schools. This worries me for a couple of reasons. First of all, it worries me because it puts too much emphasis on media relations and the notion that PR is all about press releases and talking to reporters, when I think the industry is moving beyond that. But it also worries me because I am concerned that PR people learn to think more like reporters than like business people, and I think it's increasingly important for PR people to understand the real nitty-gritty of the business that they're communicating. I've never had a CEO say to me, my PR people don't understand the media, but I've had a lot of CEOs say my PR people don't understand business. And so I worry that PR is not getting the business perspective. But at the same time, I think that the modern PR person needs a lot more skills than are typically being taught. I think we need to understand data and analytics. We need to be taking statistics courses, and we need to understand concepts like regression analysis, and so we can really understand what numbers are telling us about the world. We need to be much better social scientists. We need to understand what changes human behavior, why people respond to certain kinds of information the way they do, the power of emotional storytelling as opposed to just facts. And we need to be content creators, we need to be video producers and graphic designers, and we need to make web and mobile apps, and we need to be able to get our messages into all kinds of different content and
or
forums.
At least to coordinate people to do that, right?
Right. Yeah. And so all of those are going to be important skills for public relations people going forward. It worries me that PR right now is very focused on media relations. Now, I will say that I think it is very important. I think that we do need those people with media skills still in public relations. But I think that need is changing too. I think today you need to be a journalist inside your own client. So you should be the one going into the client company and sort of finding stories and reporting on them. And that's the journalistic skill. But I think that the needs are changing, clearly.
Okay, and we have many students starting in the PR field, also thinking about entrepreneurship. How do you see these for the future, for these young professionals?
First of all, I think that this is maybe the most exciting time to be entering the public relations business. I mean, I really do believe that the relationship between an organization and the people upon whom it depends for its success is increasingly important. People know a lot more about the companies that they do business with. They have opinions on the companies that they do business with. Managing that is a vital task. And so you're entering a business that is going to become more important and more vital, more central, more strategic, more challenging. I mean, and hopefully more rewarding. So it's a great time to be getting into this business. And it's a business, I think, that is ripe for entrepreneurship. I mean, I think that size is less and less important, and maybe becoming a disadvantage in terms of the giant PR agencies. I think have to really transform themselves over the next 3 or 4 years if they're going to stay relevant. And transforming a giant PR agency is much more difficult than starting with a clean piece of paper. I mean, if I was starting a PR agency myself today, I'd be very excited about creating something that was well suited for the 21st century, and would have different departments and different skills and different approaches. And the great thing is that, you know, I don't see any great advantage to clients in having a big agency that is okay at everything. I'd much rather have a bunch of small agencies that are great at one thing. And so I think there's tremendous entrepreneurial opportunity in our business. I wouldn't recommend that if you were 21 and you just graduated college, you started a PR firm. I think you do need to learn a little bit about what everybody else is doing wrong before you figure out how to do it right. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity out there.
I just want you to repeat our last question. This important relationship pointed in the conference between marketing communications and or marketing and corporate communications. You said that this is actually public relations. I would like you to repeat this for us, please.
Sure. I mean, I think what I was saying was that when you merge corporate communications and marketing inside an organization, what you get is really public relations. In my view, it's always been that public relations is about managing the relationship that an organization has with all of its publics, including consumers. So if you look at it that way, marketing, which is about managing the relationship between an organization and one public, the consumer, is just a subset of public relations. And the reality, of course, is that in a lot of companies, marketing is a subset of public relations that has a $500 million budget, and the rest of PR has a $5 million budget. And so that can create some unnatural balances. But I think that companies have to think about the entire stakeholder relationship environment when they're making a decision. And yes, the consumer may be companies may feel that their consumer is the most important audience, or the audience that needs the most resources in order to communicate with it. But I think that we've seen in a number of corporate crises over the last 10 or 15 years that if you don't think about your relationship with the community, if you don't think about your relationship with NGOs, if you don't think about your relationship with government, with the media, with investors, with your own employees, then they can create problems that will undo all of the good work that you do in reaching consumers. So, there are great examples in America of sort of restaurants that spend tens, hundreds of millions of dollars buying Super Bowl ads and telling everybody how great their pizza is. And then you have one YouTube video of an employee spitting on the pizza or worse. And what that employee does on YouTube can completely obliterate all the money you've spent on advertising. It can do more damage than you can do good. And so thinking about all of the ways in which your reputation can suffer is increasingly important.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Esse foi o Paul Holmes, diretamente para Todo Mundo Precisa de um RP.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, thank
It was
you.
a pleasure speaking to you.